Welcome to Compound Thought. Today, we're getting into a really fascinating book, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Now, this isn't your typical finance book full of spreadsheets and formulas. Instead, it tells stories, like how a janitor can end up a multimillionaire while a Harvard-educated executive goes completely broke. It all comes down to a simple idea. When it comes to money, how you behave is way more important than what you know.
And to really get this, the book kicks off with this incredible story that perfectly sets the stage. It's about two men, two investors from completely different worlds.
So on one side, you've got Richard Fuscon. He's a high-flying finance exec, an MBA from Harvard, the kind of guy everyone pointed to as a massive success. And on the other side, we have Ronald Reed, a humble guy from rural Vermont who spent his life working as a janitor and a gas station attendant. Just a quiet, simple life. Okay, so when one of these two men passed away, he left an absolute fortune. We're talking $8 million to his local hospital and library.
So the big question is, who do you think it was? The brilliant executive with the fancy degree, or the small-town janitor?
Unbelievably, it was Ronald Reed, the janitor. So how did he do it? Well, his secret was just patience. He saved what little he could, he put it into good, solid, blue-chip stocks, and then he just waited for decades. Meanwhile, Fuscon, the executive, got taken down by greed. He took on massive debt to build a lavish mansion and was completely wiped out in the 2008 financial crisis.
And that story just perfectly captures the entire point of the book. As Morgan Housel says, financial success is not a hard science. It's a soft skill. It has almost nothing to do with how smart you are and everything to do with how you act. Ronald Reed was patient, Richard Fuscon was greedy, and in the end, that was all that mattered.
Okay, so with that story setting the stage, let's unpack the 4 timeless lessons from the book that really explain the psychology behind how we deal with money. First up, this idea that when it comes to money, no one is crazy. See, all of our financial decisions are shaped by our own unique experiences.
Housel makes this incredible point that our own personal experiences, which are just a tiny fraction of what's happened in financial history, make up something like 80% of how we view the world. So a decision that seems absolutely nuts to you could make perfect sense to somebody else based on their background.
Just think about it like this. If you grew up during the Great Depression, you're probably going to have a deep-seated fear of taking risks with your money. But if you grew up during the dot-com boom of the 90s, you might see the stock market as this amazing engine for wealth. Neither of those people is crazy. They're just acting based on the world they saw.
All right, the second big idea is the massive difference between getting wealthy and staying wealthy. And trust me, they are two completely different skills. See, getting wealthy usually involves taking some risks, being optimistic, and really putting yourself out there. But staying wealthy? That's a whole different ballgame. It's about survival. It requires humility and this healthy dose of paranoia that everything you've built could vanish in a flash.
It all boils down to one simple word: survival. You have to stay in the game long enough for compounding to work its magic. The book tells this cautionary tale about Rick Guerin, one of Warren Buffett's early partners. Now, Guerin was just as smart as Buffett, but he was in a hurry. He used a lot of leverage, and when the market took a dive, he got totally wiped out. He actually had to sell his Berkshire Hathaway stock to Buffett, of all people, for a tiny fraction of what it would be worth later. He was great at getting rich, but not so great at staying rich.
And that leads us perfectly into our third lesson, which is this really counterintuitive but super powerful idea about what wealth actually is. It's not what you see, it's what you don't.
You know how it is. We see someone driving a $100,000 car or living in a giant house, and we automatically think, wow, they must be wealthy. We use these external signs to judge financial success because, well, it's all we can see.
But Housel makes this super important distinction. Being rich means you have a high income right now, and it's visible because you see it in the stuff people buy. But being wealthy, that's hidden. It's the income you didn't spend.
The only thing a super expensive car tells you about its owner is that they have that much less money than they did before they bought it. True wealth is the money that hasn't been turned into things yet.
So really, wealth is the nice car you didn't buy. It's the diamonds you decided against. It's the financial assets that are still sitting in your account growing and giving you options, flexibility, and control over your own life. And that is the real goal.
And that brings us to our final and maybe most important lesson. It reveals the true purpose of building all this wealth in the first place.
Housel says the greatest thing money can buy isn't more stuff. It's control over your time. Just the ability to wake up in the morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. That feeling, that is the highest form of wealth there is. So the path is actually pretty straightforward. When you save, when you build up those unspent assets, you're not just piling up cash. You're buying your independence. You're buying your freedom. You're buying the ability to design your own life.
So, to bring it all home, let's just circle back to that core lesson. Financial success isn't about knowing some secret formula. It's about mastering a few simple human behaviors. Having patience, a little humility, and the discipline to think long-term. Just like Ronald Reed, the janitor who quietly built an empire. And we'll leave you with a question to reflect on. What's one financial belief you hold that might not be a universal truth, but is really just a product of your own unique life story? Figuring that out is the real first step to mastering the psychology of money. Thanks for watching Compound Thought. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Share it with a friend and subscribe so you never miss the next video. We'll see you next time.